and yeah, try and get it all sorted out for you. Okay, so in front of us you can see the ruin of the Kaiser Wilhelm Memorial Church. This wonderful church was unfortunately nearly completely destroyed in an air raid on the 22nd of November 1943. And at the end of the Second World War, the West Berliners decided to leave what was left of it as a memorial to how horrible wars are, and that's why it's still here today. In the early 60s they built a new memorial church, which is the hexagonal building here on the left hand side and the bell tower on the other side of it. And the Berliners, quirkily enough, they have nicknames for their buildings. They call the church and the bell tower the lipstick and the powder box, and the ruin of the church itself is known as the hollow tooth. That's what they like to call it. So we are on the Kulturforum down. This is the main shopping and entertainment boulevard of West Berlin. It's a very famous street. It's actually based on the Champs-Élysées. It's actually exactly half the width of the Champs-Élysées, and it was the first Chancellor of Germany, Otto von Bismarck, who had the grand idea. Yeah, he fell in love with the Champs-Élysées and came back and said, Berlin needs to have something like that. So it was his grand idea to have this wonderful boulevard built. So as we just drive up the road here, you'll see a funny looking silver sculpture in the middle of the street. That's just coming up in front of you. And this is called Berlin, that's the name of the sculpture. And it was erected here in 1987, at which time Berlin was still divided into 4 sectors. Yeah, the British, the American, the French, and the Russian sectors, 4 sectors of the city. And that's what this sculpture is meant to represent, the 4 sectors of the city at the time. They couldn't come together as one united city, that's why they're not, there's a gap in between them, you see. The Berliners, however, they just called it the dancing spaghetti, or the drunk rainworms.
Drunk rainworms, okay.
Right, coming up in front of us then in a sec, on the right hand side is a very, very famous luxury department store, okay? And you see the name of it coming up on the right in white letters.
KaDeWe.
And on the right it says KaDeWe. Now it's not KaDeWe, it's KaDeWe, alright? Which means Kaufhaus des Westens, which means the department store of the West. A luxury department store opened here in 1907. And yeah, one floor is really worth seeing. It's the 6th floor of KaDeWe, which is the world-renowned food department, where they say you can try out specialities from all over the world. So you don't have to travel the world, which is obviously very expensive and time-consuming. You just go to the top floor of KaDeWe, and which is much easier to try out all these specialities. How about some nice fried locusts dipped in honey? And they wash down wonderfully with a glass of champagne first thing in the morning. So yummy, yummy, yummy for your tummy, tummy, tummy. Right, in front of us we have a subway station, very nice looking subway station here, and it's one of the first ones ever built in the city. The first subway line of this city opened in the year 1902, so it's one of the oldest in the world. It's not the oldest is the London Tube, followed by, would you believe, Glasgow was the second, and Germany was a third. So the station here on the left is in Boulevard. If you get a chance, go and have a look inside. It's very, very nice. You might have been asking yourselves what these pipes are that you see everywhere around town. You see all these big pipes. You're probably losing sleep over it. You're saying, what on earth are these pipes all about that we see everywhere? Berlin is basically a swamp. That means that the groundwater level of the city is very high. That also means, of course, that when they build, they dig down, they hit groundwater. Well, obviously, they have to get rid of it. So these pipes are used to pump the water out of the building sites. They're pumped then into the canals or into the river, the water, and when that's completed and they've sealed it off, then they can dismantle the pipes. And that's the reason these pipes are built overground, because they're only temporary. The reason you see so many pipes all over town is very simple. It's because we have so much construction work, okay? So that's the reason for the pipes. So now you can all sleep tight tonight. Yeah?
I'm really curious.
I mean, I could have told you it's the beer pipeline for the builders, I suppose. So then we've got a sunny looking black arc over here on the left, is sculpture. This was a present from the French government to Berlin for a big party for the 750th anniversary of this city, and that was in the year 1987. So this is what the French gave us. Thank you very much. Merci beaucoup. Now, there it is. It's called 124.5 degrees, and that's really all we know, because the guy who created it, a French artist by the name of Bernard, refuses to tell us what it's meant to represent. He just said, make your own minds up. There you go. whatever you want to think it is, I guess. And also, probably you've noticed now that we've got spring eventually arriving here, just how green Berlin is. Berlin is actually the greenest city in Europe. There are more trees in this city than in any other European city. Yeah. Just lining the streets of the city have 485,000 trees, and we know that for a fact because every single tree is actually numbered. I know you don't believe me, but it's absolutely true. If you look, you'll see on the trunks of every single tree, you'll see an etiquette. It's either in blue or in white with a number on it.
Oh
It's
God!
seriously numbered.
They have nothing
That's
to
what
do.
you call German efficiency.
German efficiency. They count the trees. We just cut the trees.
No better to count the process.
If I cut one, will they fit one to jail? Okay, this is a big bus.
So coming up here on the left-hand side, you see a rather strange, peculiar-looking architecturally building coming up on the left, and you'll see the letters CDU. CDU means Christian Democratic Union. It's one of the main political parties in Germany, so equivalent to the Conservative Party, if you know them. Angela Merkel, you probably remember her. She was a member of the CDU. She was obviously the Chancellor for many a year. And this is their headquarters here in Berlin, over on the left, the CDU. So coming up in a second, you're going to see an optical illusion. I don't know if you already had one this morning. If you haven't, time for an optical illusion. And we're going to talk about the building coming up on the left-hand side, the fifth building down on the left, which is the Mexican Embassy. As we drive past it, we'll drive nice and slow for you, but you'll realise that when we get close to the Mexican Embassy, like I said, it's the fifth building down on the left, you'll see that it's the structure, it looks like it's leaning to the right. But as we drive past, it looks like it moves from right to left. It's an optical illusion. It's meant to represent sunrise and sunset. So here you can see the Mexican Embassy. Here is the flag outside. There you can see it. And you can see it's leaning to the right. Now watch what happens as we drive past. Slowly but surely you'll see it's straightening up. Yeah. And if you follow it, if you turn around, you'll see it's leaning in the other direction. Did we all see that?
Yes.
Or shall we drive back and do it again?
Okay, do it.
So a bit of a more excitement I was expecting from you, really. I mean, I'm not asking for Arriva Mexico, but something, because that was the highlight of this tour. It's all downhill from now on. Might as well get off. All right. On the left-hand side, this green complex you see here, behind it are 5 embassies. The 5 Nordic embassies. That's Denmark, Norway, Sweden, Iceland, and Finland. The Berlins, however, they just call it the IKEA box. So we're going to drive down the next street, which is known as the Tiergartenstrasse, and this is mostly a street of embassies. Okay? So coming up on the right-hand side, you see the Saudi Arabian Embassy, very 1001 nights. It's complete, by the way, with a swimming pool at the top with a retracting roof. So when it's nice and warm, there's lots of splishing and splashing going on up there.
This one.
Yeah. So coming up then, you're going to see a number of embassies that were built when this was actually first built. These are luxury apartments on the right-hand side that have been built the last few years. And then here on the right-hand side, we have the Japanese embassy. This was built during the war, actually, in 1942. and right next to it is the Italian Embassies, and it's no coincidence that these two are standing next to one another. Like I said, they were both built during the war, because of course they were the Axis powers of the Nazis during the war, Italy and Japan. And those are their embassies, both of which were damaged but not completely destroyed in the war. Then on the right we have the new Turkish embassy. Each has their own architectural style, as you can tell. Next to which is the South African embassy. On following that, in this wonderful, lovely sort of clay brown, is the Indian embassy. On the left there's a lovely statue of Richard Wagner, the composer. And then we have a representation. All parts of Germany have their own representation in Germany, in Berlin. That's from the area of Baden-Württemberg. And the green building here on the right, this is the Austrian embassy.
Terrible.
Terrible.
Which aren't really old, they're built in the dark, but there you go.
Like a bunker.
Yeah, like a bunker.
So then you're coming up on the right hand side, you'll see two yellow buildings. The first one that you see was the first one that was built here. This is known as the Kulturforum, an area that was built after the building of the Berlin Wall in West Berlin, because all the culture and all the museums were actually in the east, and the West Berliners couldn't access them anymore. So the first yellow building you see was the first one built. It's the world famous Berlin Philharmonic Orchestra building, built in 1963 by a very the first conductor was a very famous Austrian by the name of Herbert von Karajan. Okay? So, and if you're wondering about the architecture of this and the building next to it, it's because of the acoustics, which are absolutely incredible. They went to mathematical lengths to make sure that they got the building in such a way that you get the best acoustics out of it, that's why. And next to it, this is the Chamber Orchestra building, which opened in 1987. In front of us you have